Hello, are you out there? It's Mark with HFD Review, and we've got a new item, Oil of Enchantment from our very own Seaypy. Thank you so much for sharing. And everyone else, I think I have 2 full classes that have just been posted this week. Those will be big videos. They're coming. It might be a little ways till we get to them. This one is relatively simple. It's a jar of clear, viscous fluid. They come in uncommon, rare, and very rare, and offer a +1, +2, and +3 respectively. When applied to a weapon or suit of armor, it grants the appropriate enhancement for 8 hours. One jar has enough for 3 applications to weapons and only 1 to a set of armor. I could see that. That makes sense in the fiction because armor covers so much of your body. It's a huge amount of surface area. What about shields? You specifically say weapon or suit of armor, not shield. I would... Maybe a shield would be two doses, leaving 1 for a weapon, so you could kind of break it up that way. Maybe if you wanted to kind of like stretch it a little bit of defense, a little bit of weaponry, that'd be a nice compromise. Maybe put that in there. Okay. So onto the nerdy details which you adore so much. Me? I don't think so. I don't think I really like the details that much personally. No. My players weren't on a high enough level to start handing out magic items willy-nilly, but felt they could use something of a temporary boost in a few of the coming encounters of their adventure. Thus, I started with the +1 Oil of Enchantment on paper. The more thought I gave it, the more I considered that there may be points down the line where I might want them to have an increased advantage, but I didn't want them to have a permanent +2 or +3 item just yet. This is a stopgap until I'm ready to hand them fully enchanted weapons. Yes, I think that's a great idea. You kind of would hand it out at the tiers in between, like at level 2 or 3 would be a great time to get a flask of the Oil of Enchantment. You're not going to get those +1 weapons until levels 4, 5, and 6 probably. I don't know about you guys, but when I hand out magic items, I usually don't just go, and here's your +1, and here's your +1, and here. I usually kind of stagger it, like level by level. One person might get that item, and you'd be like, okay, well, here's a scroll for you, wizard. Oh, and here's a +1 axe for you, barbarian. And it's like, oh, you got to kind of know your table. Hopefully, your players are mature enough to not be all butthurt because they're like, phooey, I wanted a magic item, and he got one, and you're like, dude, you're gonna get one next week, man. It's a treasure trove. But it's only for the fiction of it because it's like, we killed this one boss. We opened the box and there's a weapon for each of us. It's like, it's not believable. That's the problem. It feels good. It's like mechanically really nice. It's like, but it's not a computer game. You're trying to play through a fantasy world where appropriate gear is going to come from different bosses. You take down a mini boss who's a magic user, there's going to be items on that magic user appropriate for your magic users. You take down a mini boss warlord in the forest, a bandit leader, that person's going to have gear that would be appropriate for a fighter or maybe a rogue type. So that's how I like to chop it up. Granted, I don't make anyone wait too long, but kind of get a feel for your players. You'll know who can tolerate waiting while someone else gets a good item, knowing theirs is coming, versus the people who cannot. So let's just leave it at that. You'll get a feeling. Fortunately, all of my players can all wait. They know how to handle themselves. We're big boys. Okay. Where the hell are we? Stopgap. Yes. And geez, honestly, at the +3, I don't even know that. I guess I don't play to high enough levels to have gotten to +3 gear. I've never handed out a +3 anything in my life. But I guess when you're hitting level 16 plus, it's appropriate for the stuff you're going against, and just to get your hit chances up, because that's hard to escalate through character progression. It's not easy to get extra hits. So yeah, I guess in that sense. But with the oil, solves the problem. At least you're going into a deep dungeon delve, or you're going to go raid the Cloud Giant Castle. Shit, having some +3 oil could really help the party out for 8 hours. So I like it. Why not simply give them the weapons? Trying to avoid the Monty Hall method of awarding loot, which is quite tempting when you want to see your players happy and excited to receive treasure. Yeah, it's way easier to overdo it than it is to underdo it. Hey, you and your party have beaten the kobolds. You find 25 million gold and a plus 27 weapons and armor and 93 wondrous items in the treasure room, including a deck of many things, a deck of only a few things, and a deck of no things at all. Obviously an exaggeration, but in a campaign in which I'm a player, the DM has given me a +3 scale armor, and our party is only level 4. Oh. No, they didn't. Oh. In a campaign in which I'm a player, you're a player now? Oh gosh, I hope your DM doesn't read this. Hey, if you are Seaypy's DM and you're reading this right now or watching this, don't hand out +3 gear to your level 4 players. It doesn't help. It doesn't make for better role player combat, or it breaks all the other mechanics of D&D for a little bit of player happy. It's like, no. And then where do you go from there? That's the problem. Is at level 4 you hand out a +1 suit of scale armor. It's like, cool, yeah, I'll take that. Freaking extra 1 AC. This is nice and shiny. I'm gonna wear this forever. But you hand out that +3. Where do you go next month? Right? A couple sessions down the road. What kind of gear do you hand out that you don't? It's broken. There's nowhere else to go. Oh my gosh. That's a maturity level of the DM. Oh, that's not good. It's not candy bars. It's life altering, super valuable fortunes worth of magical items that you're giving to your characters because they've defeated ancient, arcane, powerful enemies who have managed to collect an item or two at great expense to themselves that your party then liberates via life and death combat. Essentially steals from them. That's rough. Don't do that, DMs. And as a player, don't be like a level 5 character wishing for a +2 weapon. Don't do that. It does not improve. Wait, at level 10, you get your +2 gear. At level 15, maybe the +3 stuff happens. But really draw it out. You front load that, it just makes the rest of the game, the mechanics just don't hold up. Okay, enough of that. He did even better for our Spellslinger, giving them a Robes of the Archmagi at level 4. I think the DM's problem is that he's rolling random loot at the table and accepting whatever the die come up with, or scanning tables for what he thinks is cool. I'm surprised he hasn't handed out the Axe of Dwarvish Lords at this point. I think treasure should be written in advance while keeping a careful eye on the balance of the party's power. GCAP, you bring up a couple good points. Treasure that is specifically geared towards your players, the characters, the character classes, really is much more impactful and feels much more appropriate when it's like, this is perfect for my ability. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I found this item. It's exactly what I needed. That's why you don't roll random loot, at least not most of the time, in my opinion. Secondly, keeping balance between the parties, between the characters in the party is important. You don't want one player's character to just run away with it. Again, there's maturity levels there where some players are like, yeah, that guy's way more badass than me. I'm cool. I like my character. I don't need more. But that's probably an exception to the rule. The one thing I do, if I'm doing a big book, like a full adventure book, 9 months to 15 months of play, a year of of adventure, usually once in there, I will, let the players roll off of a random loot table. Where I'll open up to one of the charts in the book, like table F or whatever, and be like, you guys each get to roll a D100, and that's the item you get. In the meta sense, you have that conversation to be like, guys, this is kind of like a loot crate. It's a little bit of luck gamble. That's fun to do like once a year. Because people are like, yeah, we don't know what we're going to get. We might get something really amazing. We might get something that no one can use. And we might get something that's kind of questionable, and we'll have to choose between us who's going to get it, the best thing. And you just let each player roll. You're going to have a couple stinkers and a couple things that are really appropriate. That's usually how it works out. But even the stinker magic items where everyone's kind of like, I don't know if we need the Boat of Qualish or whatever. Are we really going to use that? But it's valuable. They can potentially trade it in for money. They might be able to trade it for a like magic item, for a big favor from a ruler, or buy off a djinn or a red dragon that who might they might otherwise be at their mercy, and just say, "We have a great treasure for you. Do you have this in your collection, O mighty one?" And the creature's like, "I do not, but it looks quite interesting. I like the aura of its magic. I shall take it as a gift, and you may go." Yeah. So having a magic item that the party doesn't necessarily need or want is still a great mechanic for roleplay. So it's fine for them to get a magic item that's not great. But yeah, rolling a magic loot table, that's just like a wink and a nod, like, hey, let's have a little fun, let's gamble. And you let your players know that that's what's going to happen. That way, if not everyone gets what they want, they're just like, it was cool. We had a chance to get something. That's my opinion on that. I love giving my opinion. Something I didn't consider until this very moment. What if a monk simply uses some on his hands for unarmed combat? Question. Without even reading your answer, I know I would say yes. Absolutely. You got to support your players and reward them a bit for coming up with creative thinking for things that don't break the game. It's just like, yeah, sure, your monk fists are hardened like weapons. You know how to use them like weapons. Your hands tingle with, magic, forceful energy, unlike anything you've ever experienced. And then it wears off after 8 hours. Your hands both feel like they've fallen asleep. Hopefully, by the time you take a short or long rest, they'll feel normal again. Yeah, I think that's fun. Perhaps a ruling that it can only be used on inanimate weapons and armor would clear that up. It would. This is such a great question you bring up, is what things need to be defined. Because by not clearing it up, by not being specific, I know I always say, could you be more clear? It's unclear. But I think the DM could just decide and just say yes or no. And you always leave room for a player to argue their case. But yeah, I think you could absolutely pour magical stuff onto the player's hands. Or for fun, you could be like, roll me a constitution check. Let's see if this alchemical magical liquid poisons you. And you could have some minor thing of like, yeah, you can't smell or taste, something funny like that. Or you can't see the color blue while this stuff is on you because you're lightly poisoned. Not like the poison official poison mechanic, but some other ill effect. It might be fun. It's like, do you want to take that risk? It might do something odd to you. And the monk's like, hell yeah, lay it on me. Yeah. But it's a good question. The shield, I think, is one I would like to see clarified. Because I could see your party trying to do like 3 shields because they're not suits of armor. But they're going to gain the benefit of armor on 3 shields. So to me, I think it should get the 2-dose treatment, personally. Alternatively, if you're a DM that's decided to use this, maybe you don't care and will allow a monk to make a free use of it. I would use it. Well, not for free, but one of the doses, one of the 3 weapon doses, yeah. Keep the limits of the initial description, though. 3 applications to weapons, 1 application to armor. It's a balancing thing. Yes, agreed. And I just thought of something else. What if your monk didn't just put it on their hands, but it's like if it worked on their hands, like I will apply it all over my entire body and use the whole bottle up, and you're like, is the rest of the party cool with that? Because it's like the monk would gain a +3 to their body and a +3 to their hands, or +1, whatever. But you get my point. What if a monk just doused them? It's like sunscreen. They're just, I like to apply thoroughly. Make sure you get behind the ears. I burn there, and now they're like nigh invulnerable. That would be sweet as hell. But I think you should roll for a toxicity chance. Something bad could happen. Definitely. That's it. I made an effort to avoid anything that involves math, since I've learned that that's a rabbit hole you'll dive into head first. Poorly, I might add. I'm very bad at the maths. Let's see what kind of debate this one sparks. Okay. Shields take 2 doses. Monks can coat their entire bodies in it for both a +3 buff to their fists and their AC. Simple. It's solved. I think no more conversations needed. Thank you.